Steelers Nation, welcome back to another episode of the Steeler Culture Podcast. We are the SteelTwins, where we break down Pittsburgh Steelers football. We're going to continue on the quarterback talk this week, guys. First, we discussed Jalen Murrow and the Steelers' severe interest. And same thing could be said about Ole Miss quarterback, who's getting a lot of first-round talks. How about Jaxson Dart?
Yeah, Jaxson Dart, man, he is somebody that has been skyrocketing his draft stock, supposedly. He's a guy that's been talked about will he be selected in round one? Will he fall down into later rounds in day two? Many people have yet to know where exactly will he be selected, but when you look at the tape, when you look at the film, there are glimpses and there is promise in his arm talent, but is it worth a first-round pick?
We're going to talk about it today in this video. Jaxson Dart is one of the few quarterbacks that the Steelers did bring in for a top 30 visit, so there is interest there. I will mention, however, that Tomlin and Kahn and Arthur Smith and Tom Arth, who went to the Bama Pro Day, minus Smith, I believe, they went to the Bama Pro Day for Murrow. They did not go to the Ole Miss Pro Day. However, the assistant general manager of the Pittsburgh Steelers, Andy Weidl, did indeed go to the Ole Miss Pro Day. Now, that could have been for a multitude of things. That could have been for Dart. That could have been for Walter Nolan. That could have been for J.J. Pegues. That could have been for
Trey Amos.
Trey Harris, wide receiver. There's tons of talent come out of Ole Miss, but although they didn't send the main guys there, they didn't send them there. They didn't send those guys to the Washington Pro Day last year either for Troy Fautanu, and they did still select Fautanu in the first round. There is going to be interest from the Steelers regards to Jaxson Dart, but going on what Rob stated earlier, is he worth a first-round pick? Is he worth the selection at 21? In our opinions, no, he is not. I do not watch his film and see first-round talent out of Jaxson Dart. I just don't see it. I see the potential. I see where he really thrives in the way he processes the field, and he's very quick with his decision-making, and his arm talent is there, and his mobility, and the way he likes to throw the ball down the field. I see that. And I'm like, those are glimpses there, but there are a lot of inconsistencies, and one of the biggest concerns about Jaxson Dart is, can he adapt to an NFL offense? Because the RPO scheme that he ran in Ole Miss, I don't know if that's exactly going to adapt well for Jaxson Dart. It might take a year or so for him to adapt to an NFL offense, especially since he is not experienced under center. That's a massive concern with Jaxson Dart, especially if you're considering taking him in the first round, whether that's the Steelers or some other team. He might not even be there at pick 21. There might be a lot of teams that overdraft a guy like Jaxson Dart.
I mean, it would not surprise me. I mean, teams are for sure desperate when it comes to the quarterback position. We all know this. Just look back at the 2011 class when Cam Newton was the prime overall pick at quarterback, and everybody else was basically like, who the hell is that? Like, what the hell happened? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So when it comes to Dart, there is promise. There is some glimpses. There is something with Dart. He's not afraid to sling it. He's not afraid to push the ball down the field. I would say his intermediate passes are probably the best part of his throws. I would say his actually there is very good.
I would agree, yeah.
Again, he likes to scan the field. He tries to process the field a little bit, He's not the most mobile guy, but he's not afraid to run the ball and get the tough yardage or a quick first out if he has to.
No, and those are where the traits are where, yeah, you know what, you can build him up to be, the franchise guy. And I do think Jaxson Dart, out of, like Ward and Sanders, I think he is up there with the franchise potential. He's not as good as Ward, and he might not be as accurate as Sanders, but I do see the upside where Dart could be a franchise guy. But not in the first round. But my issue with that is I don't think he's going to make it out of the first round. I think there will be many teams that look at Dart and give him a first-round grade. That could be the Pittsburgh Steelers included. I don't see him falling out at night one. I don't. I think he should. I don't think he's first-round talent. But there will be some team that takes him in the first. And that should not be the Pittsburgh Steelers, because that would be Kenny Pickett all over again. I am not comparing the player Jaxson Dart to the player Kenny Pickett. I watch Kenny Pickett.
Dude, I just said he's not afraid to throw the football down the field. Kenny Pickett would not throw the ball down the field.
You watch those two. They're not the same player.
No,
they're not. But in the way that the Steelers would be panicking to get a quarterback, or whenever they sign Aaron Rodgers, and then they'll have Jaxson Dart sit for a year behind Aaron Rodgers. Again, I just find that being a Kenny Pickett situation all over again, where they're panicking and they're trying
Their
desperately
decision.
to find their guy.
Their decision to take a quarterback round 1 because they have no other options or because they are desperate for a quarterback, that is very reminiscent to when they selected Kenny Pickett 3 years ago.
Right.
Been there, done that. No, thank you. I'm good on that.
And yes, signing Aaron Rodgers and having Jaxson Dart sit under him would be probably an ideal situation for a lot of Steelers fans. I see a lot of Steelers Nation saying we should do that. Sign Aaron Rodgers, draft Jaxson Dart in the first round, have him sit for a year, and then give him the shot in 2026. I see a lot of fans saying that. I wouldn't mind Jaxson Dart day 2. Again, I don't see him falling into day 2.
If he makes it to day 2.
But here's the thing. We only have a first rounder and a third rounder. Are we going to trade back and get a second rounder and maybe get Dart if he somehow falls based on all the other teams' evaluations on him? That I wouldn't mind. But I'm still going to hold my ground. We're still going to plant the flag on the mountain that we shouldn't take a quarterback so early in the draft class this year. It's not the class to do it. We shouldn't take a quarterback in the first round. We shouldn't take a quarterback day 2. The earliest we should take a quarterback is round 4, day 3. Because this year is not the year to go after a quarterback. It is not. Otherwise, everything they've done this offseason makes what the plan is for next year, or the idea, the theory next year with the comp picks and the trade-up scenario, a little pointless. If you're just going to draft a quarterback this year when you got to fill all these other holes. I don't think quarterback is the ideal move for the Steelers early on in the first 2 days, especially in the first round. And I do like Dart a lot. I really do. Because, again, I see the upside. I see the potential. I do see a potential franchise guy there. But not in the first round.
No, he does not have first-round capabilities. He has the potential to be on the level of a first-round talented quarterback. But, again, the inconsistencies there are just too much for me to say, no, he's not a first-round pick.
No.
At least not in my opinion.
But
especially the fact that, you mentioned that, he has rare experience playing under center. I think it was reported at the Senior Bowl, he had reported fumbles when he was under center. So that's a huge question mark as far as Dart's capabilities under center. And can he process, or not process, can he
adapt?
Yes. Can he adapt and learn an NFL-style offense?
We don't know, because he's very familiar with the RPO scheme, which is what he ran a lot in Ole Miss. A lot. There was a lot of screens. There was a lot of checkdowns. There was a lot of draws and read options for Dart, and that's what really helped aid him last year. And even still, he was still able to throw the ball down the field, and that's one of his biggest pros. That's one of his biggest positives is he scans the field, and he's not afraid to sling it. He likes to throw the ball down the field, but in that same sense, he is inconsistent in that area. His accuracy in the deep ball isn't always there. There's nothing about the tape that wows me. But the thing with the Steelers and their interest in Dart, if they want to secure Dart and sit him like Dart needs to, they will have to take him in the first round. But is this the year to go quarterback? In our opinion, no. We have holes at D-line that we need to go after, at potentially running back, corner, receiver. What we've said all offseason is you got to fix all the holes this year with the picks you have, and then in 2026, you trade up and get your guy. Because at least next year, the majority of your holes will be filled. This year, 2025, and the draft needs to be about fixing everything around the quarterback position. You're going to have Aaron Rodgers. You're going to have Mason. Fix everything around that position. That way, you can sacrifice as many picks to trade up for a guy in 2026. Yeah, that's what we've been stating all offseason.
You build the foundation. You grow the team. You address the needed positions that you need to address. D-line, running back, receiver, cornerback for the future especially. You have to build everything around the quarterback for the quarterback to succeed. Because going with a quarterback but then putting other positions on the back burner, especially in this year's draft class, where the quarterback draft class is not exactly stellar.
No.
We just got done talking about Jalen Milroe. We feel like he is at best a day 3 guy, though he probably will go sooner. He'll probably be overdrafted because of his talents. Jaxson Dart, he's not a first-round pick. Though I will say this, again, there's promise, there's glimpses, and I do feel season after season over at Ole Miss, he has grown, but the growth still needs to grow. He still needs to grow. He needs to continue to showcase that growth. And I do feel that Dart needs to sit at least a year for him to really showcase anything, to really learn the NFL-style offense, for him to be adapting under center, for him to process the field a little bit better, and for him to work on his accuracy.
I agree.
I feel like he needs to sit a year.
And that's also a reason why everyone says, well, maybe that's why the Steelers should draft him. But not in the first round, but I don't see him falling out of the first round because he will be a first-round pick. If we trade back and Dart is still there with, say, an extra second-round pick we got because we traded back, maybe we use the whole Jaxson Dart situation to get picks back, and maybe he's still there in round 2. I wouldn't mind it then because at least you're getting him at where he should be drafted. You're getting him at where he's valued in the draft.
That's better value. That's more digestible. That's more of an easier pill to swallow. Anything like top 25, 21st overall, I feel like that's just too much of a reach for Dart.
Yeah, I don't have a first-round grade on Dart, but I can't see him not being a first-rounder based on the interest and based on how he's raising his stock.
Yeah, of course.
There's nothing about his tape that really excites me, but I do see, like, in the mental capacity where he is strong at. But like you mentioned, he needs to be able to adjust and adapt to an NFL-style offense, and that's going to take a year.
I will throw this out there. Considering on how the quarterback position has been and their approach towards the position to where it is now, do the Steelers want to undergo that again next offseason to a point that they feel like, let's just get a quarterback and select one with the first-round pick, in this case, Jaxson Dart? I just don't think that's the right approach. I don't think that's the right mindset.
Obviously, if you draft Jaxson Dart in the first round, he's not going to be your day one starter. That's a bad mistake. And even Kenny wasn't a day one starter. I can't say that drafting Dart and having him sit isn't, I can't say that's exactly the worst move they can make, because that's exactly what Dart needs. And under a guy like Aaron Rodgers, think Aaron Rodgers how you will or not, I don't know if he would mentor a guy like Dart. I don't know if he would mentor any of the young guys, but he brings a wealth of knowledge, Hall of Fame knowledge, that Dart could use. So I can't exactly deny that, yeah, that could help Dart, and maybe that could set the Steelers up for success. I just can't agree with that approach because I think that's the Steelers panicking and praying that they're going to get a quarterback. I think that's them feeling a little desperate.
That's why I throw out the idea out there, because they've done it before.
Right.
And according to Rooney, according to him, he feels like that, they didn't really learn much from that situation.
Yeah,
there's not really a lot to take away from that situation.
Yeah, that's all I need to know about their future evaluation.
So that's what concerns me about, potentially Dart being taken at 21.
Right.
I just don't feel like it's worth it. I don't think it's the right approach, considering the other positions that you have to address. Because quarterback, it's not the year to address it. It's not. Go with a bridge, whether that be Mason or Aaron, then go into next year and then deal with that position while every other position is fulfilled.
That's exactly what I agree. I just think them reaching on a guy like Dart in the first is a desperation move.
And I'm gonna keep saying that. I'm gonna keep saying that that's the approach that they should do until it actually happens.
Right. Now, regardless of him sitting under A-Rod and him benefiting from that or not, again, I just don't know if that's the Steelers' best interest this year.
Though I will say this for Dart, he does need a city year. With whatever team selects him, whatever team decides to take him, with whatever round, he does need a city year.
Right.
I would not throw him in there. If I were a team, I would not throw him in there in the middle of the season or whatnot. I would have him be the quarterback 3. I would have him learn the system, the NFL style, and NFL offense, and then give him that shot in his second year. I would not throw him out there at all. I would have him redshirt his first year.
And that's why I would much more encourage that if he was like a second-round pick based off the Steelers potentially trading back.
Mm-hmm.
That I could very much entertain. But in the first, I can't exactly endorse that as a Steelers fan. I can't. I do like Dart a lot. Just not enough to draft him in the first, and not enough to take him in the first and not take another pick until the third round. Too many holes to deal with. Despite D-line being stacked, running back being stacked, I'd rather fulfill that with some of the best guys in the first round with legitimate first-round talent, rather than someone that's not first-round talent in Dart, despite how much I like about him, despite his upside. It's just not how I view the Steelers going into the draft and finding the most success. Not this year. It's not the class to do it. It's not. So that's our personal feelings on a guy like Jaxson Dart. Man, a lot of pros to like, man. There's a lot to like between, what he does on the field and how he reads the field and his pocket presence, and how he steps up and extends plays. But there's also a lot of negatives with his accuracy and, the scheme and the offense that he was operated in, and can that adapt? Can that motion into the NFL level? How fast can he adapt that? He has no experience under center. It's a little too much of a gamble with a guy like Dart. It is. That's why in the first round, I don't think it's worth it. But they're showing interest, and I can't deny that they brought him in for a top 30 visit.
Not just that, but again, Weidl, of all people, was at his pro day. So that's something to take away from that.
Exactly. So, I mean, we'll see what happens in the coming weeks, man. The draft is going to be here in about 2 short weeks, and I'm sure everything's going to be continuing to spiral out of control. There's going to be a lot of speculation, a lot of news. But Jaxson Dart to the Pittsburgh Steelers. How do you guys feel? Would you guys take Jaxson Dart in the first? Would you not? How do you guys feel about a guy like Jaxson Dart and the Steelers bringing him in for a top 30 visit and definitely showing interest? How high do you think Jaxson Dart falls, man? Let us know your guys' thoughts down in the comments below. We'll see what happens in the coming weeks. It'll be very exciting to see more news come out and what we should and shouldn't entertain in regards to all that. It's going to be an exciting next couple weeks. So stay tuned for more draft content. Appreciate you guys watching. And here we go, Steelers.
And as always, like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you later.
Peace!